So, Sophia,
Yeah.
I'm so happy to see you today because you were seriously such a favorite of mine at
Oh,
working together. And I've actually told the story 1,000 times about the Dora backpack.
oh
We got
yes.
elaborated a little bit. Best story ever. So I want to just catch up with you. I've got a few questions to ask. What it was
Yeah.
like working with your career design lab, kind of where you were at with your life, and obviously how you're flourishing now. So, can you tell me a little bit about when we started working together, where you were at, what you were thinking of?
Yeah. So when we started working, I remember I was kind of in a situation where I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do with my life. And I think that's like a situation that a lot of people kind of find themselves in. And I was just kind of blindly applying to places, not really like having a goal. And then, as time went on, I met with you, thankfully, and we kind of were able to cultivate an awesome story and kind of, find a path that kind of fits with like what I want to do. So that's kind of how we started. Um, and yeah, and then we went through a bunch of different routes, and it kind of took a lot of exploring to finally find like where I'm in currently. But you were able to kind of guide me through that, so it was really, really extremely helpful, especially being in a place where you're just graduated and a bunch of people are trying to find jobs, and you kind of feel like you're behind and all that kind of stuff. So having someone there to kind of just like guide you through that is extremely helpful through the process. So
That's so wonderful.
yeah.
So tell me what you decided on, because I know you were working down at Brickell and you wanted to be sort of in sales and stuff. What job are you currently at right now that you're loving?
Yeah, so it's actually really funny. I did want to get into sales, but I wasn't like entirely sure if I wanted to get into something that was like quota driven and something that I had to like meet. Just because like pressure wise and all that kind of stuff, I wasn't sure if that's exactly what I wanted to do, but I did love interacting with people, working at the Four Seasons and like, just constantly, interacting with people was just something that I thrived on. So I knew that that's something that I wanted to have, but I just wasn't sure like how. And just kind of like exploring the different job opportunities, like kind of thinking about possibly dipping my toes into PR and things like that. But coming from the hotel industry, I knew that hotel was more kind of like a luxury, I guess, item, and I wanted to be in getting into something that's more, I guess, sustainable, something that I can kind of take with me and grow from. So then I knew tech was kind of like that world that I wanted to be in, but I didn't know what I wanted to do just because like I knew I didn't want to code. I like wasn't into that kind of stuff, but I did like the sales aspects. So I was like, oh, maybe tech sales. So we kind of explored that, but then again, it fell into that quota driven kind of job that I didn't necessarily want to get into. So then after that, I actually was just looking through LinkedIn and I found something called sales enablement. And basically what that is you're kind of making the sellers in the company be as productive as they possibly can. So you're kind of helping them sell the product. So it was like the perfect medium. Like it couldn't have been better. So yeah, now I'm working at Mongo Database and I work in their sales enablement team. I started out as a coordinator, getting like to know the ropes for about a year. And now I'm about a year and a couple of months into my job and I got promoted and now I'm kind of like leading projects and it's super, super cool. And I couldn't ask for anything better. So yeah.
That's fantastic. And are you going
Yeah.
into the job or is it remote?
So currently we are remote. I know that we are kind of having people go to the office, but since I'm in Florida right now, I don't necessarily want to go to New York right now, and it's not a
New York?
necessity. Yeah, so it's based in New York. That's what I was hired for, but since I was hired in COVID, there was a lot of changes in like org structure and that kind of stuff. So I actually talk with a lot of salespeople in Austin, Texas. So it kind of wouldn't make sense if I went to New York, but I definitely like my whole team is over there. I work with people in Dublin. I work with people like Europe and like North America, East Coast, West Coast. So it's kind of just like better for me to stay remote and then I could just travel when I need to, like to Spain or to Dublin or whatever. Like it's just easier for me to do that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
And are you going to have the opportunity to do that?
Yes. And it's phenomenal. Like what's great about tech and something that I really learned was that, when you start in a company that kind of has a startup mentality, like my company right now is public, but they still have that like startup mentality. So we started out really small when I was there, and we've grown a substantial amount. So that kind of gave me opportunities to talk to people that I probably would have never gotten the opportunity to talk to and kind of just like, like be in discussions that, have taught me so much. And I've learned so many skills from the opportunity, and it's just so great, you know? So that's kind of where I'm at.
It is so great to see
Yeah.
someone like you that can share with my audience, with the people out there, that
Yeah.
dreams do come true. Dream careers can come true. You're an
Yeah.
example of it. And that is just amazing. Did you feel like you got any of these skills in school, Sophia, when you were in school? Do you feel like the things you're doing now, or when we were working together, storytelling, how to go out and get your jobs, how to use LinkedIn, all the things that you and I talked about. Do you feel like you learned any of that when you were in college?
I think it's a little bit of both. So I think obviously like working in like smaller jobs, like I guess customer service jobs or like front desk jobs, they also kind of give you that. And I think college to a certain extent kind of helps you with like the work ethic portion of everything and like time management and that kind of stuff. But I think like, working with you, I was able to kind of cultivate that story that I didn't get in the past. And there was a lot, I remember we had conversations where we were talking and I was like, you were like, but you can put this, like you've done this, you've done that. And I didn't even think about that. And it's because like sometimes like, you work a front desk job, but there's so much that goes into a front desk job. You go to school, but there's so many projects that you work at in school that you can use to like benefit you for your career. So it was a lot of like that kind of like, I guess like mind blowing, like, oh, what I actually do have the experience that I thought I didn't. So yeah,
E-
it's like a little bit of both.
Exactly. You had so much in your background. Like you said that you didn't even take the time, as we talked about who are you. You did a lot. There was a disconnect between who you are and what you did. And now it seems like it's really come together, which is
Definitely.
amazing. How do you feel your resume was? And how did that work for you when we started working on your resume and stuff?
Yeah, I think, well, I don't know if I remember telling you, but my brother helped me out with my resume, and my brother is in finance, so it's kind of like a very plain resume. And I guess with the field that I was trying to get myself into, it's not necessarily like you don't want to just have a plain resume. You kind of want to have it catered to what you want to do. So at that time, it was kind of very plain, and like I was sending in resumes. I think I sent in like over 30. I was very desperate, like I really wanted a job, and I wouldn't even get past the first interview. And then once we kind of started working on our resume and just like making it kind of cater to the companies that I was actually applying to, it totally changed it. Like I started getting interviews, it just was like a total turnaround.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
And how did you feel like in your interviews too, where you were a little nervous in the beginning because maybe you didn't know the questions of tell me a little bit about yourself. What are your strengths? Remember, it was like, I go to Florida school. I do this, I do that. What changed for you when you started to interview as well and to be able to show, as everybody can see, your beautiful, bubbly personality? How did that feel for you when you started to get the calls?
Yeah, so it was actually just going back and like starting out, like when before I kind of had we were working together, I would have interviews and I kind of didn't have a structure to like how to tell my story. Like we always talk about the story and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't have that. I just knew that I was working at the front desk and I did all these other things, but it's kind of like when they ask you questions, they expect a story after. So being able to like prep a good like 5 or 6 stories before going into that interview is extremely helpful. It's kind of crazy because I'm actually in a position now where I'm having interview. Yeah, it's the craziest thing. Like I'm interviewing people now, and it's like you really see the difference between someone who has like really prepared their stories compared to somebody who's just kind of going to you and like just telling you what they did. Like you want to have a conversation, and usually the people that we pick are the people that are easy to talk to and like when you leave and you're like, wow, that was a really good conversation, like 100% most of the time, like that's when you're going to get the job. If you feel like if you feel like you're not having a conversation with someone and it's just like blunt answers, I guess, like, most likely you won't get it. Just because, you want to be a culture fit, and you also want to be someone that, has all the qualities that like a company is looking for. So stories are extremely important. And that's really what helped me kind of get to where I am now.
That is so cool that you're
Yeah.
doing what we did to help others as well.
It's great. Yeah. And I tell everybody, like, anytime people are like, oh, like, how did you get the position that you got? And I kind of just tell them, I'm like, think about every story that you've gone through. Like we've all, even if it's in school, like it doesn't have to be an actual job, but just like think through it. Like what qualities are they looking for, and come up with a story that, or like most likely you have a story that goes with that quality. So just have a good like 6 or 7, just like in the back of your pocket, maybe even 3. And then it's literally the biggest help. And you can kind of mold those stories to, fit in with whatever question they're asking.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're hired. You are hired.
Right? It's
Oh,
great.
darn. You already found your dream career. Darn.
Yeah.
That is the coolest thing, Sophia. I haven't ever heard anyone that's actually brought what we had done together into what
Yeah.
they're doing. And right. And you feel like, hey, I want to have a drink with you, or let's go out together. I'm sure,
Yeah.
I mean, you're working remote, but if you were to go to New York, you'd go hang out with these people that you're
For
working with,
sure.
right?
Exactly. And like eventually we will meet in person. I know at the end of May, I think I'm going to go to Austin, and then beginning of June, I'll go to New York, and we're going to meet everybody, which is going to be so exciting. But yeah, it's really crazy. Like you want to make sure that you're with people who also fit who you are and kind of your personality. And the only way you can do that is by sharing your story in reality, like that's the best way to get to know somebody, is just having a conversation.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
After that, I have no questions for you, because that was the greatest, just like your Dora backpack story with some wonderful
Right.
sandwiches. We can't do better than that. So I thank you so
Of
much.
course.
That was so inspiring for me, to be honest with you. And I hope others that are listening to this as well. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining
Thank
me today,
you.
Sophia.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it. It's been such a great ride, to go on with you. And, I'm very thankful for everything that you've, helped me through and kind of guided me through, because I wouldn't be here without you. So thank you so much, Debbie. I really appreciate it.
Oh my God. Thank you. I'm going to cry.
It's true.